Somewhere in an eastern Australian rainforest, a hiker pushes past a plant with soft, heart-shaped leaves covered in a faint fuzz, the gentlest-looking thing on the trail. A leaf grazes the back of their hand. They barely feel it. Then the minutes pass, and it begins. A burning that climbs and does not stop, hour after hour, worse when the skin gets cold or wet. It can last for weeks. And here is the part that should unsettle you. It delivered something microscopic and then stepped back. Everything after that, all of that pain, is their own nervous system screaming on command. We think of dangerous plants as poisoners, things that wait for you to eat them. But the worst plants to touch barely poison you at all. They do something stranger. They turn your own body into the weapon and hand it the trigger. Before these 8 minutes are over, you'll meet a plant that fires glass needles loaded with a venom closely related to a spider's, and in the wrong conditions you may not even need to touch the leaf to get hit. You'll meet a plant whose burn you will not feel for hours because it has to borrow the sun to finish the job. And you'll meet one that barely harms you on its own, and instead tricks your immune system into attacking your own skin for days. Hold those 3. Welcome to the lab. Today's specimens are the ones you should never touch, and almost none of them hurt you the way you would expect. A quick word first. Nothing here is a how-to. The point is the opposite, to understand what these plants do so you know what not to put your hands on. Never touch or handle a plant you cannot identify. With that understood, the subscribe button is what keeps the lab doors open, and a new specimen opens on the shelf every week. We start with the one plant here that does not trick you at all, it just grabs. In the deserts of the American Southwest grows the Jumping Cholla, a cactus with a reputation for leaping at people. It does not leap. Its stem segments detach at the lightest brush, and the spines are not simply sharp. Under a microscope, they are covered in tiny backward-facing barbs, layered like the shingles on a roof. Almost identical to a porcupine quill, they slide into skin with the slightest pressure and then lock, gripping the tissue so they are agony to pull out. No poison, no chemistry, no trick. It is a pure mechanical harpoon, and to the cactus you are just a ride to somewhere new. Crude and brutally effective. A harpoon only grabs. The next plant does something the cholla never bothers with. It injects. You have probably been stung by this one. The stinging nettle hides along trails and field edges, and its stems and leaves are lined with tiny hollow hairs tipped with silica fine as glass. Brush them and the tips snap off like the bevel of a needle, and through that broken point, the plant pushes a cocktail of irritants into your skin. The result is a sharp sting and a welt that burns, then fades within the hour. It is the gentlest version of an idea that gets much darker later. A tropical relative, the velvet bean, takes it further, with pods whose fine hairs were once scraped off and sold as itching powder. The nettle is the warning shot. The nettle's sting fades fast. The next plant does the opposite, and it does it without injecting anything at all. Poison ivy is the one almost everyone meets eventually, low on the forest floor, climbing a fence, blended into the green. It carries an oily resin called urushiol, and on its own, that oil does nothing. It does not burn, it does not poison. It slips into your skin and binds to your own cells, and your immune system, scanning for invaders, mistakes them for a threat and attacks. The blistering, itching rash that follows is not the plant hurting you. It is your own body attacking its own skin for days, and the oil is patient. It clings to clothing, tools, even a dog's fur, ready to start the same reaction on whoever touches it next. Long after the leaf is gone, the plant did very little directly, it just convinced your defenses to turn on you. Quick pause, because we are halfway through. Not one of these plants is strong enough to really hurt you on its own. They are too small, too still. So which unsettles you more? A plant that poisons you outright, or one that does almost nothing and talks your own nerves and skin into doing the damage for it? Tell me in the comments. I'll tell you where I land at the end, because the worst one is still ahead, and it works on a delay. So far, the damage has been immediate, or close to it. This next plant arms the weapon and waits. Giant hogweed looks like a wildflower the size of a small tree, and it was once planted in gardens for exactly that drama. Its sap is the problem, and the way it works is genuinely strange. Brush against a broken stem and the sap soaks into your skin, and you feel nothing. No sting. No warning. The chemicals in it, called furanocoumarins, quietly slip into your skin cells and lock onto your DNA. And there they sit, doing nothing. Waiting. Then you step into the sun. Ultraviolet light is the trigger, and once it hits, those chemicals activate and begin killing the cells from the inside. And hours later, your skin erupts in burns and blisters that look like a serious scald. The marks can darken and linger for months, sometimes years, and the skin stays sensitive to sunlight long after. Sap in the eyes can blind. It hands you a chemical, lets you walk away thinking you are fine, and lets the sun pull the trigger hours later. Every plant so far needed to make contact. This last one barely does. This is the plant from the very beginning, the gentle-looking one in the Australian rainforest, and it is one of the most painful living things you can touch on Earth. The Gympie-Gympie is covered, head to leaf, in millions of tiny hairs made of silica, which is to say glass. Each one is a hypodermic needle loaded with toxins called gympiotides, discovered only a few years ago. When researchers worked out their shape, they found something that should not be in a plant at all. These toxins are built almost exactly like the venom of spiders and cone snails. They work the way that venom does, jamming open the sodium channels your nerves use to fire, so your pain signals switch on and refuse to switch off. That is why the pain lasts for weeks and can flare back months later when the area is touched, wet, or cold. The hairs are so stable that century-old specimens dried in museum drawers can still sting a careless hand, and in the wrong conditions near a disturbed plant, you may not even need to touch a leaf, because the loose hairs can drift through the air. A plant that fires glass darts of spider venom and then lets your own nerves carry out the sentence for weeks. No animal anywhere in it. So which one unsettles me the most? Not the gympie, as bad as it is. It is the poison ivy. The gympie is at least honest about what it is. The ivy does not burn you directly, asks nothing, and still turns your own body against you days later, over a plant you might never have noticed touching. And that is the thread tying all of them together. Look at what these plants actually built. Not poisons, exactly. Delivery systems. A harpoon, a syringe, a glue that frames you to your own immune system, a chemical timer wired to the sun, a glass dart of borrowed venom. And notice what almost none of them do. They do not overpower you. They are small and rooted and silent. What they do instead is far stranger. They deliver something tiny and precise, and then they let your own body do the rest. Your nerves carry the pain. Your immune system raises the blisters. Your skin, lit by the sun, burns itself. The most dangerous plants to touch are not the strongest. They are the ones that figured out how to put the weapon inside you and let you pull the trigger. If that's your kind of weird, the next file is already on the shelf. I'll see you in the lab.